time now for one of the most awaited sessions of the day. It's time to get candid with Ms. Malini. Well, thank you everyone who has joined us here. Be ready with all your questions. We will be taking them at the end of the session. Now, Malini Agarwal, aka Ms. Malini, is the founder and creative director of Ms. Malini Entertainment, a leading media lifestyle brand that creates highly engaging multi-platform content geared towards India's internet generation. Malini is India's first and most famous digital influencer, having pioneered India's lifestyle blogging with her website, msmalini.com, in 2008. Today, Ms. Malini Entertainment content reaches 30 million people every month across their own channels, with over 10 million direct social media followers. A regular speaker at CMO forums on digital brand building, Malini was featured in the ET Women Ahead listing of 2018 by the Economic Times and awarded the Women's Super Achiever Award at Femina's 5th World Women Leadership Congress and Awards. Ranked number one on Impact's 50 most influential women in media, marketing and advertising in the year 2017, she was also recognized amongst business leaders to watch in Fortune India's 40 under 40. Well, if I keep on talking about all her achievements, probably it will be the end of the day, but unfortunately, I just have half an hour, so I'm going to leave it right there. But a very, very warm welcome to you, Malini. I'm really excited for this one.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you, Malini. So, again, what I will do is straight away shoot the questions to you. So, the first question and the obvious question that comes to my mind is that, of course, you are the OG, as we say, the original influencer from a time when probably the word digital influencer was not even coined. And you pioneered your way from blogging to now being a full-fledged entrepreneur. So, the first question is, how has that journey been, from a digital influencer now to an entrepreneur?
It's been quite an incredible experience, actually. And I always tell people in 2008, when I started as a blogger, there was no such thing, right? The blogging didn't really exist as a career. So people always ask me if this was a plan and this was something I was building for I really wasn't. I wasn't looking at even doing blogging as a full-time job. And it sort of just happened to be that way. But over the years, the last 10 years, we sort of built a whole organization around it. And the trajectory over 10 years has been quite amazing and such a great learning experience, where we went from sort of creating a digital magazine to expanding out into various platforms. As you saw, everything from Facebook to Instagram to Snapchat, started creating content. So we've always been platform agnostic about our content. And then, we also did it reverse. From digital, we got into television. So we, created six seasons of television shows, and we've done podcasts. So I've always been a believer in multimedia and not restricting yourself to one medium, because I believe you have to go to where the party is. And I think the most rewarding part about being an entrepreneur is being able to create opportunities for other people, right? So we have a team of 65 people that are now working remotely from home. 90% of them are female. So I think that's really rewarding. And I, when I look back, I can't imagine how we did it, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
And we are glad we have all that content right there for us to consume. And I think everyone loves the site. And that's the reason they keep going back to it. Now, Malini, another question, since you're also on the entrepreneur side, you've seen both sides of the game now. Over the years, the word digital marketing, or say influencer marketing, has kind of really changed. Brands' perspective have changed. They are probably now more conscious and are willing to invest in this kind of medium to advertise. So, the question that automatically stems from this is that, how do you define the change perspective when it comes to a brand and when they look at influencer marketing as a platform to advertise their product or service?
It's amazing. I mean, I think when you look back, when in 2008, when we started the Ms. Malini brand, there was no word such as influencer. But if you look back at it now, I always say, wow, that was really what we had done. It took a long time for brands to understand the value of digital marketing. And it's not their fault. It's just that they were used to terrestrial marketing in magazines and newspapers, on television, on billboards. And then slowly, as more and more people ended up spending time online, they realized the value of what they could do. And that's now also changed and become more influencer marketing, where you don't just want to buy a product that you see a commercial for. You want to buy a product that someone you admire recommends. And I've always found there's 3 layers of it. So there used to be the billboard with Deepika holding up a phone, and you'd get awareness from that. Then the next level is having your influencer talk about it, use the product and sell it to you, but you still know that that influencer is being paid to do that. But the third level, which I believe is the future, is community, where you create a community of people, kind of like what we've done with Malini's Girl Tribe, and you use that community to seed in products and get very genuine responses and reviews. And if you have a good product, then you have nothing to worry about.
So there are two things which stem out of this. One, of course, we'll be talking about the Girl Tribe because that's one very important thing right now from every perspective. But before this, another question which stems from the Deepika part of it. You know, it's a time, especially right now, collaboration is they say the key word, and everyone is looking for collaborations. Also, when there is no dearth of influencers right now on the digital platforms, how important do you think is one, collaboration? Second, getting maybe a famous personality or celebrity. How important is that, and how easy is that for anyone probably who's starting out?
I mean, starting out a brand, you mean?
Starting out on the platform as a digital influencer. I wouldn't say a brand because they would obviously find their way.
Sure. I think it's very difficult right now because there's so much competition. And I think the biggest problem is the mindset of starting out as an influencer, thinking I'm going to make this a career and I'm going to make money off of it. The entire premise of being an influencer or being someone that has this following is the authenticity of what they do and who they are. So if you're manufacturing this persona around which you want to make money, it isn't going to resonate. You have to first be an influencer and then use your influence. You can't try to use your influence and become an influencer in that process. It's not real. That's the whole reason people like them. So I think part of our success was because we weren't looking to make a business. And I understand it's not easy because you have to pay the bills, which is why I always tell people, try to do multiple things. You don't have to make being an influencer your full-time job. There's a lot of freelance work you can do alongside, so make sure you have multiple skills, whether you're good at video editing or you want a totally different day job. I used to work at Channel V in the day and do my blog at night. Or I did a radio show in the day and wrote my blog at night. So you have to first build up and understand who you are as an influencer. What are you trying to create? And really come back from the idea of influencer marketing and understand there are different kinds of influencers. Celebrities are influencers too, who've built their influence based on their movies and why people love them. And then you have other influencers that people admire, whether it's teachers or doctors or, various different professionals that you look up to, an Oprah or Ariana or, Malala for that matter. So what are people looking to you for? You have to first establish why you're an authority on that, and then potentially collaborate with brands to make money. But again, you have to make sure those brands align with who you are and what values you're saying you have.
So basically aligning with the purpose of what you're doing. It's not just about just starting out right there, which mostly people are doing right now. Get on the platform, get maybe that couple of bucks that you easily can get with having an X number of followers for you. It won't probably pay off in the long term. So that's an advice coming from Malini right there. Thank you for that, Malini. Of course, now coming back to the community, and of course, this is something really exciting. You've built a strong community of girls, of women, a very engaged community, which has crossed like more than 40,000 followers now, if I'm not wrong. It's Malini's Girl Tribe. So after you having so many other, I would say ramifications to already what you're doing, why get into something like this? What's the importance?
I think, again, more and more, I feel like I've been in media for 10 years and I really want to leave behind a legacy that means something. And I feel what's happened is when you look at women's empowerment, we make it quite boring and very serious. Or we look at it as this angry girls club and this unfortunately misused terminology of feminism. Yes. I think that it's important to take it back. I think that empowerment can be fun, it can be sexy, it can be interesting, entertaining. And so that's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to marry my reach with celebrities and the content we create and use it towards some good end. And empowerment doesn't need to be something you ram down someone's throat. It could be as simple as creating content that has powerful female lead characters. And I feel that in the community, we've actually had some amazing conversations that you're not able to have online. I'm sure we're going to get to the Ignore No More campaign, which we'll come to after this. But it's a community where there's no judgment, there's safety, there's security, and there's always a response. You know what happens when you go on social media? You'll see a celebrity page and you'll see thousands of comments and likes. But why do we get on social media as individuals? Because we thought, wow, I'm going to get on social media. Suddenly I'm going to have access to half the population, 3 billion people, and I'll never be lonely again. But you get online and you start posting stuff and nobody sees it, nobody likes it, nobody comments, and you feel even more lonely. So in the Girl Tribe, I'm very proud that no post ever gets unanswered. It's user generated, but everyone is always there to reply. And some of the conversations we've had are things you would never be able to have on public social media. Someone was talking about How should she deal with it? Because she found her 12-year-old was watching porn. And she was like, how do I? And it's such an important conversation, but you'd never be able to have that on public social media. You have a lot of people dealing with serious issues, maybe domestic violence, but there's also people looking for jobs. And we have a Girl Boss Spotlight where we've showcased 100 entrepreneurs. We do various things where we're helping people align on travel. You might even say it's kind of like a Google for girls where you go in and ask anything. So somebody was asking, where do I get, the PPE kit, and how is it to travel with kids? Or, where can I go and get a great cake delivered during the lockdown? So literally everything. And I feel the most important value of this tribe is that, especially as we have transitioned into an increasingly virtual world, it's important that the community feels real and isn't just a wasteland of social media where you're kind of on your own.
Completely buy it, and I am one of the recent followers, and I'm looking forward to engaging on various levels. And anyone out there who feels that they are looking for such a platform, this is the platform to be. And it really has some interesting content, not just because I'm doing an interview with Malini, I'm saying that, but I mean it from whatever little I checked out. So you mentioned something about, okay, so social media has always been a bane as well as a boom, right? Yeah. It has, and right now, suddenly, after every couple of days, thanks to the situation and thanks to whatever has been happening, there has been a lot of concentration and a lot of talk about mental health. Internet as a medium, I would say, has become a very dark medium. Yes, we do get followers. Yes, we do get a lot of love, but we also get a lot of trolls. So at this time, you have started a campaign, Malini, and thank you for that. And it's Ignore No More campaign, where you are taking care or addressing the issue of cyberbullying as well as cybersecurity. So one, what exactly is this campaign? And if somebody is being troubled or is facing such an issue, how do they go about it?
Sure. So what I've realized is, like, we always knew, and especially women and any woman who's listening to this, watching this, if I ask you, have you ever gotten a creepy DM or a creepy comment? Everybody will say yes. And I think a lot of guys don't realize how bad it is. And we've been told to get used to it. Just ignore it. Yeah. What's the point of arguing? They're stupid. Just block them. But it's gotten worse and worse. And now, as we spend more time online, and I'm sure you all watch Facebook Lives and Instagram Lives, you see the comments scroll on the screen and they're disgusting. And people are spending more and more time even posting comments like that from their real handles. That means there's no fear. There's no accountability. And if we're going to live in this virtual reality, we can't accept living in a world that looks like this. Just like if you walk down the street and someone yelled something horrendous at you or dropped their pants, you would say something.
Yeah.
But why don't we do anything and say anything online? Just because it's not physical abuse, it's still abuse. So what we've done is we've set up a campaign of awareness, because I think a lot of people don't even know their rights, that you can actually file an FIR for someone who has not just sent you maybe a dick pic or a creepy message, but also who relentlessly comments or stalks you on your post, who is pretending to be you, or, things like the boys' locker room. You can report all of this, and it's not that hard. And so if you go to my Instagram handle, Malini Agarwal, or Malini's Girl Tribe, you'll see the process is very well laid out. That all you have to do is collect the information, so the URL of the perpetrator, screenshots of what they sent you, and send an email or log on to the government website for cybercrime. And you'll get a tracking number, an OTP, that you can follow the case. And there's amazing people like Shubham Cybercop on the internet who you can even DM. And, I actually got to hear about this because this actress, Tina Singh, had posted about him and he had really helped her out. And I've seen him do it. And suddenly you'll see these 16, 18-year-old boys who are sending the worst messages are suddenly apologizing. And it's really heartening to see, even if they haven't apologized to me, if they apologize to you, it will still make me feel great. So the Ignore No More campaign is enough is enough. We are no longer going to ignore and let people get away with how they behave online. And the great thing is, even men are joining the conversation. Celebrities are joining the conversation. And it's as simple as saying, I'm going to call you out. It's not as simple as, okay, just naming and shaming, because clearly a lot of these people have no shame. Yeah. It's accountability. As soon as they get one phone call from the cyber police, you'll be amazed how quickly they turn around and apologize and say, I'll never do it again. As soon as their parents find out, parents don't have any idea what their kids are doing online. And it's our responsibility, because Generation Alpha, our kids, are going to grow up on the internet. And do we want our sons and daughters to grow up in a world that's full of this? And if we don't start doing something now, it's going to be the same thing as trying to save the planet when it's too late. So we really have to all make an effort, because this is something that affects all of us. Even if it may not be affecting you as a man directly, it's probably affecting your mother, your sister, your friend, your daughter. 100% it is. So it's very important we all do this together.
And one more question, Malini, how fast is this response? I really want to know this. Like once report something of this sort, how many days are we looking at? An instant reply, or
so it takes? It depends on what you have reported. Yeah. I have found when I went directly to Shubham Cybercop, he was pretty quick about the turnaround, but I realized that's probably hard to do at scale. So in fact, on Sunday, I have a panel with the Lawyers Club of India, with the head of the cybercrime police and the lawyers, to really get the answers to these questions. So I'll definitely be posting all these answers and definitely get them for you. But the point is, there is a process in place, and very often it's as simple as when you report it and they get a call that they stop, and you can choose to press charges or accept an apology and move on. But the point is, I feel as soon as even 10 people have been, sent an FIR or given a warning, you will see an immediate change in a lot of behavior around you, where they're now afraid to do that because they can see that there are consequences.
True. I think it's high time that we call out such people enough. They need to understand that there is a fear. They just can't go about doing whatever they want to. And it's not just women, it is men. Everyone is being trolled on the net. It's a sad situation, and the earlier it gets curbed, the better it is. And thank you for bringing that campaign. I think, so many people are associated with you on an engaged level. They actually engage, and probably they will. I would be the first one to pick this up. I can tell you this, with whatever tools I've been getting. Don't miss out on this, guys. You have a window. Use it, and use it wisely. Moving ahead now, let me talk about a team. You said you have a team of 65 people right now working with you. That's a huge team. Plus, also, you have partnered with your husband. 2018, is it?
Yes. So much earlier than that, actually. He joined a while ago. So I've always had a business partner, Mike Melly, and him, we co-founded the company. And then Naushad joined, I think, around 2012 or 13, and he became the CEO.
So it's a long time. So I would say it's a very tricky situation. Every time you want to maybe go into a business collaboration with your partner, keeping your professional life and personal life in sync, as well as separate. What advice do you have for people who want to do something like that?
I think you have to have a certain kind of personality. We're very lucky that we see very eye to eye on a lot of things, and we are very passionate. And I've been very lucky because this is my dream that he's helping fulfill to a large degree, But I think it's really important to have some boundaries and a great deal of respect. You have to respect the other person at home and in the workspace to be able to do this together. And you have to also understand that the other person is functioning at a peak capacity as well, but may not always want to talk about work. So you have to have some kind of boundaries in that space. I think we're kind of a unique case that we already always spend so much time together. And now with the lockdown, it's a great test of being together. So we've been quite lucky with that. I think the important thing is finding ways to communicate well and express yourself. And if you don't agree about something, don't let that argument spill over into the personal world or vice versa.
Talking it out is the key always, whether it's an argument, whether it's anything else. And I'm glad we see people like you who are like inspiration for others to follow. You are, I don't know, many human beings into one, I would say, very talented. And you have also authored a book, which is To the Moon, How I Blogged My Way to Bollywood. And you also have another book, which is coming up. So even social media, I feel, is kind of like, it is mini blogging at the end of the day. So any advice for people, one, probably to write their narratives or their captions or anything better, or for someone who probably wants to pen a book?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both very different things in that sense, because a book really requires you to think through a whole story. I've only written nonfiction. I'm a little afraid to write fiction, but maybe one day. So when you're writing a book, it's really important that you think about what is the beginning, middle, and end, right? That's a very basic and an outline. And the way I wrote my book is, since I'm used to writing blogs, I wrote my book as 42 blogs. Because of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and The Answer to Life, the Universe, and Everything is 42.
Right.
And my second book is really about this topic of, internet bullying and how we can be better people online. When you're writing shorter, when you're writing captions, I feel the most important thing is to write captions with a little meaning. Don't get so robotic where you just copy paste the simple hashtags and do it. Write something a little more persuasive. Something that, the whole point of social media is to feel human, and you are human, but don't allow the process of putting in a caption and publishing it to dehumanize what you're doing with it. So I think it's very important that everything you do there, you cannot go wrong with, if you think about how would I say this to another human being if I were saying it, and apply that logic.
A very simple thing, but if used properly, probably it can make a major impact. So thank you for that advice, Malini. Okay. There are right now a lot of courses which are there on the internet. There are a lot of platforms which are offering these courses. How does, even when, frankly, even I wanted to do a course when I was starting to pick out digital marketing, social media marketing, maybe X, maybe it's like so confusing. One, do you advise taking up such courses? And if you do, how does one choose?
So honestly, I've always been a believer that you learn best on the job. So even before you take up a course, I would highly recommend an internship. I know Smriti has said, how does one get into an internship at Miss Malini? You can write to asif at missmalini.com. I would highly recommend when you finish school, do like at least a 2-3 week internship in the area of work that you're interested in. And then you'll know what kind of things you want to learn, because you could do various things in a company, right? Even if you join mine, you could be in sales and marketing or client servicing or entertainment blogging or all of those. You may not know yet what skills you want to learn. And then you might sign up for a course and feel like this is not actually coming in handy once I actually go to work. So I highly recommend an internship first. And I would also be careful not to take a very short few-month course, because I don't know how much you learn from that. I think you probably are better off taking a longer time course where you actually learn various different skills and tools, like a business degree or marketing degree, as opposed to a short marketing course, because these are very cleverly packaged courses that are trying to sell you a quick fix. But there isn't such a thing as learning digital marketing in 3 months.
So, okay, so yes, short-term courses probably are not the way ahead, but then they kind of give you an overview. So it's a choice. Plus, as you said, there are platforms. There are some questions which are coming up. We would like to address them. One was from Smriti. How was the journey when you were one of the first people to start online media platform? Okay, so starting out first, you mentioned that you touched upon that to some extent, but would you want to elaborate on the same?
I mean, I think the journey was, when the first people, I think the journey was very exciting. It was a new landscape. It was something where it was hard for people to understand, what am I doing exactly online? What is it? Is it just a hobby? Am I just playing games? So it was kind of empty in that sense. It was like starting a new country almost. But then it very quickly got populated and interesting, and I learned a lot in on the way. And if I'm sure if I go back, I would probably do things somewhat differently today. But I think they all had to fall into place the way they did for it to be where it is now. And I feel like the most exciting part of it was learning something I've learned from YouTubers, is that collaboration is king, much better than competition, because you have an audience that's similar to your other creators' audience. Instead of fighting to divide them, why don't you unite them by both creating content together, and then you double both your audiences? So I always found that as a very important lesson.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question here. When especially when you collaborate, and especially when you collaborate on a level which is like yours, where probably things are a little more documented than probably for people who are just starting out, and plagiarism is not something which is new. So how do you safeguard yourself from that? Because there is always a fear, of whatever is the original content probably getting stolen, or maybe another platform, just because that person might be famous, using the same content, they would reap much more benefits than what you would do as an individual. How can one take care of that?
I mean, there are some plagiarism laws. I don't know how many people follow those.
Yeah.
I find, imitation is the best form of flattery, as they always say. So even if someone does that, the key to yourself is be ahead of the game. So even for us, there was a lot of sites that popped up afterwards. I'm sure there's a lot of things that people liked. And so they thought, okay, this is a value, so let us replicate it. So we're always on a mission to keep being innovative, being new. So, we've created the Girl Tribe. We're going to be launching an app for it. We're going to do various other things. So it's really important that you stay ahead of the curve. And remember, the world is a large place. There's room for everybody. So, you have to find your niche, and nobody can really say things quite the way you can.
Okay, another simple question for somebody who's starting out. Do you think there is a lot of money and you need a lot of people initially to begin? This is something I would say from a student's perspective, from a very startup stage. Yeah.
Become an influencer, you mean?
Yeah. To become an influencer, to have a mark on the net, whatever you are creating.
You don't need it. You don't need to spend any money. I think when I started, I didn't spend any money. I had a WordPress account, which was maybe $9 a month. But initially on social media, your accounts are free. If you learn the skills yourself to take photos, or edit your pictures or upload and edit your videos, you don't actually need to pay anyone for anything. And a lot of influencers still do that to this day. Now, if you're creating stylized or specialized content where you need to shoot in specific light or you need to shoot with a certain value of things, then maybe you have some expense there. But I would recommend starting off on your own and doing it yourself, because it's very important that you yourself know all the skills. Like, I know how to do every job in my company, because then you know whether someone is taking too long to do it, whether they're doing it right, what their challenges are, and how you can help them.
Okay, Malini, you have, the word that I was, diplobrat? That's what the word that you use. So you've traveled a lot. Never thought of, starting out as a travel blogger, maybe?
I mean, luckily for us, we've done lots of different content, right? We did travel, lifestyle, we do. So I actually got to travel a great deal before the pandemic for work. But I really liked so many different things, and I liked entertainment, and I love living in Bombay. And so I didn't really ever feel the need to just be a travel blogger. I also got to be a travel blogger as one of the things. But I love that even though I grew up traveling all the way from 0 to 17, I again, because of my job, got to travel so much.
Okay, so now coming to the current situation, which is the COVID situation. Now, suppose like you have a blog which is on, let's talk about maybe Bollywood, right? Or probably for that matter, travel. Now, these topics for now in the current scenario, maybe for a couple of months become irrelevant because you probably can't use the content. It doesn't sound fancy anymore. How do you make sure that you're relevant in this time, and how you keep in a community which joined you maybe for that one particular purpose? How do you keep them engaged and relevant, make it happening?
So the great thing about technology has been that we're able to do a lot of things we weren't able to before. So even though the celebrities are not out creating movies and content, we're actually able to connect with them increasingly in things like, so in Girl Tribe, we do this thing called virtual happy hour. And every Friday night we have drinks with a celebrity. So we did some with Arjun Khanna, we did one with Rahul Khanna, with Gohar Khan, with Kusha Kapila. And it's as simple as you come sign up to Malini's Girl Tribe and join, and you get to do a fun hangout. So on World Yoga Day, we're doing a virtual hangout with Malaika. Now, you would never get to do this sort of stuff in real life, especially not dialed in from all over the world. So there are some benefits to the kind of content we're able to create now, which we weren't earlier. I've also kicked off a show called Some Good News, where I track good stories, happy things that are happening around the world, inspired by John Krasinski's Some Good News, in fact. And the thing is that people who follow us, they look for Bollywood, they look for entertainment, they look for lifestyle. And there are still so many relevant topics because people are still living their lives, right? Just maybe the actual meat of the content has changed a bit. So instead of wanting to know 5 things I can wear out to a party, they might want to know, how can I do my waxing at home? So it's also about just tweaking the content to suit the environment.
The corporates are like pivoting around the same content. Exactly, that's what you're doing. You just need to bring your brains input in how it is to be done. Yes. So one last question, and I think we are all set to wrap this session up, since it's just a short session right here with Malini. So Malini, any final, piece of, okay, one thing which I'll ask you, you're a host, you have been a host yourself, have hosted chat shows. So especially now with, things like an Instagram Live, people are really engaging with other people. Any advice for people who probably have been just good at writing and they want to obviously now face the camera? Any advice for them?
I think it's the best time to practice it, because just imagine when you're facing the camera that you're on a Zoom call with your family, where you're just being yourself and you're getting used to it. And it's a great way to practice and get on to it, because it can be quite intimidating when you're doing a shoot with a whole camera crew and your guest. It's actually a little easier now. So I would recommend trying it out. And it's a new age where you don't have to spend so much time on the bells and whistles and doing your hair and makeup. You can just be yourself.
Thank you very much, Malini. Thank you for being candid with us. Thank you for giving us all the answers. And we hope all the students right here learned a lot, and probably they can write to you, be a part of the tribe, and further the cause and get in touch. So thank you once again, Malini. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for being a part of the Edutainment Show.
Thank you, Sanchali. And I must say you did a great job. And I think people can take a leaf out of your book. When you're doing an interview, you focused on having a conversation with me rather than reading out a list of questions. And I think that is the most important skill anybody can have.
Thank you, Malini. It means a lot coming from you, and looking forward to being more active on the page now. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching. Bye.